Hello, and welcome to my channel, Knotty Gnome Crafts. My name is Sarah, and you can find me as Knotty Gnome on Instagram. Whether you are a new or returning viewer, thank you so much for joining me. Today's video is just going to be a fun little, perhaps controversial video, but before we get started, I just want to share that I am wearing my fabric store jumpsuit. I think this was called the Celine jumpsuit. It's a free pattern that I made out of a pinstripe linen that I got from Style Maker Fabrics. And then I also made this cardigan, and it has like a sort of a gradated progression of colors, and it's the same on the body here. And I made it out of Miss Babs yarn, and I made this cardigan a while ago. I kind of forget the details, and I definitely made it out of a Hohi Locatelli pattern. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, I'll put it in the description box. So that is what I'm wearing today. It's kind of chilly and rainy here today, and so I just needed an extra layer to throw on over my jumpsuit. So before we get started with the video, I just want to put in a few disclaimers that the 5 perhaps unpopular opinions that I'm about to share with you are just that. They are my own opinions. They're not a value judgment on anyone else's taste. If you like these things that I'm going to talk about, it's totally fine. I'm not telling you that you're wrong or anything. I'm just trying to do a little bit of a fun, lighthearted sharing of opinions that might be a little bit controversial in the sewing world. So the following are my top 5 possibly controversial opinions about the sewing community. Number 1, I have never sewn a Tilly and the Buttons pattern. I feel like I'm probably the only sewist in the entire world that hasn't. I think that they have broadened their styles in recent years, and I'm not saying that I would never sew anything from them, but certainly when the pattern company first started, the styles were very geared towards being a little bit on the cutesy side, which is, again, there's nothing wrong with that if you like that style, but I personally try to avoid things like that because I'm very short, I'm 4'9", and I have to be really careful with the types of clothing that I wear, because if I dress in something that's a little bit youthful and cutesy, I look like a child. So that's really the only reason why I would never really gravitated towards Tilly and the Buttons patterns. Like I said, they have expanded their styles. I do like some of the more recent things that they've come up with, but I will say that I hesitated a little bit buying their patterns because, like I said, they're extremely popular. Tons and tons of people have sewn up their garments, but I watch a lot of YouTube videos and look at posts on Instagram, and I just hear a lot of people saying that they have problems with the drafting, and you know, maybe that's just because they're so popular that there's all kinds and skill levels of sewists out there, and so if everyone's sewing their patterns, you're gonna just, you know, by the numbers, you're gonna have more people that have issues with the patterns. So I'm not saying that necessarily that there's something wrong with their patterns, but I just see a lot of issues with them, and it makes me a little bit nervous to actually try them. So that's just my 2 cents. That was number 1, Tilly and the Buttons, not so sure about them. And let's just move on to opinion number 2. So for number 2, I know that everybody loves Friday Pattern Company, and I have actually sewn some of their garments and I own some of their patterns, but the really, really popular ones, the Wilder gown and the sagebrush top, those are just not for me. And it has nothing to do with the pattern company or anything. It's just a personal style thing. Like, I just think that neither of those styles would particularly suit me, which is why I'm not attracted to them. But it is a little bit weird to like scroll through Instagram and just see, you know, examples of those 2 garments like every single day, like somebody's making those. And it just feels a little bit weird, you know, to feel like I'm kind of like alone and that everyone loves it so much, why don't I love it? But I don't think that the styles suit me. So yeah, that was number 2. I'm a little bit anti-Wilder gown / sagebrush top. Unpopular opinion number 3 is about double brushed poly. I sometimes feel like I'm the only person in the world who does not like double brushed poly. I've sewn with it one time. I made a sweatshirt that was like a color block sweatshirt, and it had like stripes on the bottom, and it had like a little floral part on the top. And I used double brush poly for both of those fabrics. And I agree with everyone else that when you, to the touch, like on your fingers, it feels very nice and soft. but I don't know, man, like actually wearing the garment, it's like hot and uncomfortable. Like even in the winter, you get kind of sweaty and clammy wearing it. It also pills like crazy. And like the other thing is like if you're using it for a winter garment, the static, like everything clings to it, and like, you know, you put on your coat and you pull your coat and your scarf off and it's like sticking to the sweater. And I would never make anything out of double brush poly for the summer. I've heard of people even making like pajamas out of double brush poly, and I'm like, wouldn't you like sweat to death? Like, I totally don't get that at all. I am not a fan of double brush poly. I do like how it comes in tons of different beautiful prints. I get that. Like, I actually wish that fabric manufacturers would use those beautiful prints on other fabric substrates so that we could all enjoy them. But yeah, double brush poly, not for me. Number 4 is another pattern that everyone in the sewing community has made except for me, and that is the infamous McCalls 7969. I don't know why everyone likes this dress. I mean, I guess like it does look comfortable because it's just so loose, but every time I see it, it just looks like really, really loose and like, I don't know, like almost so loose to the point of being uncomfortable, like in my mind. I also just don't like, it has this like crossover V, but it's really low. I just feel like I would feel exposed if I was wearing it. And then you have like the giant baggy sleeves, and then it's not fitted at all in the waist. So it's, I guess it's like a buffet dress if we're deciding that that's a term. But yeah, I just don't like it. And like, I feel weird that everyone else loves it so much. And every time I see it, I'm just like, I don't know about that. You know, like it's just, I don't know, I guess it's just not my style. And then the final, somewhat probably unpopular opinion is that I'm not a fan of seamwork patterns. Now, I will say that it doesn't have anything to do with their style. I think the style's fine. And I have not recently tried to make a seamwork pattern. The last time I think I made one was like in 2018, but at that time I just decided like this pattern company is not for me because the block is not right for me. Every time I've tried a Colette or Seamwork pattern, the shoulders are just really, really narrow. And normally in other pattern companies, like I hardly ever have to make shoulder adjustments, but for Seamwork, I always find that their patterns are super narrow in the shoulders. Also, I mean, I think I tried to make the sorbetto top, like the free one. I tried to make that top like 5 times and I could just never ever get the fit right. And I finally just gave up and was like, this is not for me. And I did recently come across like the Seamwork, and their intended like person that they draft for, and I'm pretty sure that they draft for someone who's like 5'9" and like a D cup maybe, or maybe it was a C cup, but I think it might have been a D cup. And it's like like a little light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, like okay, now it makes sense why their block doesn't fit me, because it is like very much not intended for me. And that is fine, I totally get it. I don't expect every pattern company to cater to my shape, but what I will say is that pattern companies like Cashmerette or Mona and Broad, like they have a very specific target audience that they are going for, and that is not my shape, and that is fine. Like I said, not everyone has to cater to me, and I get that. Seamwork, I feel like, is a little bit different because I feel like their marketing, they are trying to cater towards everyone, but I just feel like the block doesn't really cover everyone, if that makes any sense. So like I said, nothing against their styles. I think some of their styles are really nice, but yeah, the block just makes it a no for me. So that was my 5 probably controversial opinions about the sewing community. I hope that you enjoyed this quick little video, and I am still on vacation, so I'm out of town right now. So if you leave a comment down below, I probably will not respond to it until I return. But thank you so much for watching this video, and if you liked it and took it in the right spirit, as I hope that you did, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I'll see you next time.